My work environment can be verbally abusive when it comes to customer service and satisfaction. I received a harsh email from a customer on Friday attacking my character and my capabilities. I've yet to respond to that email and find myself playing it over and over in my mind to the point I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning to prepare the question for this Q&A. Why am I so easily triggered and defensive when someone attacks my character with their written or verbal words? And how do I stop their words from affecting me to the point that I lose sleep? If there is somebody who writes a book, what do we tend to call those people who writes books every day? We call those people like what do you call them? Like an author. How many of you agree? So an author. So an author, if you think about it, is someone who writes books every day. Yes? As in they write a book. Now, that's all they do, as in write books. And now they see themselves as an author. So if all of a sudden somebody looks at their book, okay, and that someone, let's say this is that someone, says that book is bad, okay, that book is bad, how do you think their subconscious mind actually perceives that feedback? So the person has read that book and said the book is bad. How does the mind perceive it? The mind perceives it as, I must be bad because I'm an author and I wrote that book, meaning the sense of I is also derived from that book. How many of you are getting this? The reason why you've noticed that there are a lot of individuals you've tried to give even nice feedback to who went on a defensive, how many of you noticed that, by the way, is because whatever feedback you was giving was triggering their identity because they are deriving identity from that you are giving feedback towards. But you will notice you don't get sensitive towards feedback regarding areas of your life. You don't derive identity. So it's kind of like one of Thomas' best friends is like those people who are so fashionable. They look like those people in front of Vogue magazines. It's a fashion magazine for those of you who've heard of fashion stuff. Like they're just fashionable, right? And I remember, and you might know, in week 4 of LMA, I said, wear the same outfit every day. Yeah. So my closet is like white shirts and I don't know, like black t-shirt, white shirt, black t-shirt. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. So imagine this guy who's a fashionista saw me for the first time and then said to Tom and said to me during dinner, he said, I said to him, this was a question I said, what do you think of about my style? Because the whole conversation was about fashion style. And how many of you have ever listened to a conversation before and you're like, I really cannot relate to this conversation? How many know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm like, why am I even at this dinner? Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, he looks at me and he says, looks at my clothes and says, you don't have style. What style are you talking about? And I was like, okay. But I felt nothing from it. Why? Because I am not seeing myself as a fashionista. Now, if all of a sudden though, he was to give me maybe a personal feedback regarding where I'm deriving identity, which is often where you often do the most things, such as public speaking, right? If all of a sudden he said, Tim, your voice sounds like Donald Duck on steroids, right? Maybe I might be offended. Why? Because again, you are offended in the areas of your life where you derive identity. How many of you getting this? Going back to this example, is the author the book? The answer is no. Is the sense of I even the author? The answer is no. So the question you got to ask yourself is anytime you're being offended, how can you practice what's called disidentification? Because anytime you're being offended, what you have done is you've identified with whatever is being identified by. And remember, what you identify by manipulates you and controls you and emotionally actually traumatize you sometimes. Ask me why. Think about this. If someone was burning your country flag in front of you, such as, let's say you're from America, and let's say someone's burning the country flag, is there somebody in your country right now that would get very offended by that? The answer is yes. How many of you agree? Yeah? So some people will get very violent over that. How many of you agree? But let's say you're not an American. Let's say you're not an American. Would you really feel the same level of trigger? The answer is no. So whatever you identify by, even if it's a country flag, it controls and manipulates you. How many of you are getting this? And this is why I always like to say, if you're easily triggered, you're easily manipulated. And all throughout my life, that's who I was, easily triggered. I remember people, the bullies in my life always used to say my name wrong. It's like they'll pronounce my name wrong and I'll just get triggered and then they'll manipulate me. How many of you are getting this? How many of you are getting this? The point I'm trying to get across is very simple. You have lost sight of who you really are. Remind yourself, if where you are deriving identity fades away, if that job fades away, if even your children fades away, if whatever you identify by, your car, the amount in your bank account fades away, are you still there? Is a sense of I still there? The answer is yes. So that means you cannot possibly be those things you're telling yourself and being offended over right now. So it's kind of like what identity is. Remember, identity is essentially a shopping cart, And remember, there's nothing wrong with putting things in the shopping cart, such as I am a Korean, I am this, I am an author, I am this, I am an action taker. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's everything wrong with telling yourself everything you put in the shopping cart is you, because it's not you. How many of you need to hear this today? Why individuals experience midlife crisis is due to an over-identification of things that are not you. Why individuals who go through death of a loved one go into hiding for many years and a lot of depression is because they identify with things that are not essentially themselves. So when that I fades away, you're threatened. So what's the threat response? It's normally anger. So right now you're getting angry because they're threatening your sense of I. How many of you are seeing this? You got to ask yourself is, what new decision would most embody the identity you want to embody today? Who do you want to be today? Because let's say you're heading to work right now and you're reminding yourself today, I want to be an empathetic leader. And let's say you see that boss that always triggers you and makes you feel awful. Let's say the boss is there. In that moment, okay, you've got a choice. Do you want to play out the old pattern or do you want to play out a new pattern? Let's say you choose to display empathy and give empathy towards this boss. Well, in that moment, think about this. You have taught your body what your mind has intellectually understood. How many of you are getting this? We say how knowledge is for the mind, experience is for the body. So if you keep on begin to do this over and over again, displaying empathy, well, all of a sudden, you have to remind yourself who you really are because now you're an empathetic leader. How can you use this moment as an enforcement and embodiment of who you actually want to be? Yes? And what must you disidentify from in this moment?